how through Canton town on a cold and stormy night, with the snow blowers roar and taillight arrows, a case not black nor white. Oh, the truth must show through snowbanks deep and dramas glow. With solo cups sound high we plead, what really happened to poor John O'Keefe? Carolyn, she took the stand with the world glued to the stream. The whispers flew like nor'easter winds. Was it love or a deadly scheme? Oh, and justice flow like vermin round the backyard snow, with neighbors watching cold and tight. Did you pack up wrong when you framed that night? They say the party raged indoors while John lay still in snow so wide, but some cry out this doesn't fit.
Hey you guys, it's Mo from Mo in the Deep End. I've been watching the Karen Reed retrial with Valhalla, Baker, Marissa today, and Jamie. And today is 24, and it's, the defense's case in chief. And starting off the day, it seemed like Bev had, ruled that Proctor's text could come in through this Jonathan Diamantes instead of calling Proctor as Brennan had suggested. So she finally did say that she would allow them in with a corrective sort of instruction that you have to be able to, as a juror, first authenticate that the electronic communications hadn't been tampered with, and then it's not for the truth of the matter asserted, it's more for Proctor's, frame of mind. So it's more frame of mind information than, fact-finding information. So Mr. Diamantes came in, that he apparently graduated in 2000 from the same high school as Michael Proctor. They've been friends for 30 years, all from Canton. They basically had the text chain for about 10 years that, they've all done stuff with. That being said, he did state that Proctor had a couple nicknames, Chip and Bear, and then Brennan did a cross, Now, it was interesting that the defense in their direct really didn't go into any of the text messages. It was up to Brennan to go into them. And, there was a little bit from the witness. You could tell when the C word text came up that he was not very much wanting to say anything about it. He did state that he is still, friends with Proctor, still wonder if they're going to be like besties after he had to basically take the heat and say all the words that came out of Proctor's, ridiculous mouth. And then went on to just kind of, again, Brennan was like, well, look, Proctor got, fired, got shit canned because he did a lot of scandalous crap. And he's like, well, I know it was because of these texts. Well, there was also Karen's medical, information, the leaky balloon knot in lieu of Crohn's disease, a debilitating disease, or leaky balloon knot, not sure when Proctor got his medical degree from DeVry, but maybe he's in that pending medicalologist like Burgess. That being said, I mean, it did kind of not go so well. Now, Yannetti on redirect, had to point out the fact that Proctor was fired for sharing information that wasn't, within the public sphere of knowledge, including medical information from Karen, but also like what he was doing in regards to writing search warrants and things like that. So it did, really kind of get to the heart of why, Proctor was fired. Brennan did try to, rehabilitate, saying none of the text, had him, confessing to planting evidence or being biased, but he was basically fired for, office, bias, leaking confidential information, conduct unbecoming of a trooper. So not the most, glowing recommendation of Michael Proctor. Then we get to Officer Kelly Deaver. Now, this was the witness. We were all like, Deaver? Diver? Who is she? What is she? This was the officer that was doing patrol. She worked in Canton. She is now a Boston police officer. So she left Canton. And we were all kind of wondering what was going on with her because we hadn't heard of her from the first trial. Well, as it turns out, as things get a little bit deeper into direct, we noticed that she is in fact got a like next level squared, tripled, resting bee-faced, and Kahunti attitude. It comes out that she had made statements to the FBI about Higgins and Berkowitz being in the Sally port for an unnaturally long amount of time in where the SUV was, and she made note that it was odd. Now, she claimed that she saw this when she was on dispatch because of the monitors that were kind of in the dispatch room. Now, she was incredibly evasive, very, you could tell she was thinking of her answers, wanting to be very precise. And while she was trying to state that she had misremembered, this core memory of Higgins and Berkowitz being with the car for a long amount of time, to the point that she had said something to the FBI about it. This was actually a false memory, and she claimed that the defense had stated that she was going to get charged with perjury if she didn't, stick with what she had told the feds. Now, this is all sorts of convoluted, but basically it comes down to the fact that she did make a statement to the FBI with this, sort of, I noticed that Higgins and Berkowitz were alone in that Sally port for a long time. But then she claimed that she was made aware of timelines, and the time and date that she thought she had this memory there was no possible way that she was there at the time to see this. So she claims that she had called the FBI and, kind of recanted this statement. Now, she did go on to claim that basically the defense had wanted her to lie and, not recant this story. There was some weirdness about the fact that when she was called for this particular trial, the Boston police commissioner called her into the office and basically said, look, whatever you need or need to say on stand, we support you, and do your best or do the right thing. Now, there was contention between, Miss Denver. Look, I don't like when you have a Kahunti attitude. I get what you're doing here, ma'am, but you are in no way close enough to menopause to have this much bitchiness. And I'm just going to throw this out there because I operate on the full firm rule of Tawanda. I'm older and have more insurance. Now, as you get older, you are allowed to be, a cynical ray of pitch black, but you are too young and too damn irritating and not good enough at it to be this much of a C word. That being said, I just didn't like her attitude. Regardless of how I find her, I found her to be petulant. I found her to be sarcastic. And again, if what you are stating is that you are here because your professional ethics demand that you are honest in this trial, don't be a sarcastic, flippant butt munch. She was utterly glib for someone who claims that she was there protecting her integrity. That's the problem. You can have both things at the same time, but it's really hard to pull off authentically. Not to mention, to call this now a conspiracy theory when you were the genesis of and then the denier of said conspiracy theory, it's a little too weird for me. What I will say objectively, because I was trying to take myself out and watch her answers, both on the side that I believe what she was saying, and that she was couching her answers very carefully, I will say she did not come off as very credible, very authentic, and she came off as cunning, as controlled, and as someone who had really gone over some of these key points. Again, she came in with an axe to grind, basically. That being said, within, the 2 years that she has been away from this case, to not remember the dispatch room layout, where monitors were. And again, if you want to, maintain this, look, I have no dog in this fight. I was called here on a completely, ridiculous charge case. I don't have any correlation to this case. Then don't be a flippant asshole. Again, she just rubbed me all the wrong way in her testimony. Then we went to Dr. And I just want to make sure I got this right, because my brain is sometimes, with the coldness, doesn't work all that well. But then we went to Dr. Russell. And a lot of today was taken up with, I would say, a good 2 hours of just her background. Again, you have to marry the fact that she is not only a trauma doctor who has seen motor vehicle accidents, but also, sort of specific dog encounters, especially specifically canine, officer encounters on flesh, and how she got all that knowledge. And then to also explain what kind of piqued her interest in this particular subset of sort of dog bites and their presentation on bodies. So you had to get not only her, police officer sort of background, but you also then had to explain, what a trauma doctor does and what, a forensic pathologist does. So there was a lot of background that they sort of needed, because as Brennan is pointing out in his cross right now, as we left with cross today, there are not specific sort of trainings or symposia or anything right now with sort of identification and verification of dog bites on a human body. Now, forensic odontology or bite mark sort of evaluation has been shown to be a lot more subjective than it was in the Ted Bundy sort of, it's definitely his chompers kind of days. So this is such a highly specialized and not often seen sort of wound pattern or, wound that, while, there aren't specific classes, you do kind of need to understand the depth and breadth of her knowledge in both human anatomy, trauma surgery, kind of, then, as a pathologist or medical examiner, you need to be able to understand all of this to understand where she would get the knowledge base to make these, opinions, to gather these opinions in order to, look at the evidence that she was given, which were the autopsy, report, photos, Dr. Scortibello's testimony, things like that. So a lot of it today was very detailed, kind of how a lot of it was where she got her education, the depth and breadth of it. But then she also was going through and trying to explain how she did the differential diagnosis. She did kind of opine on Dr. Welcher's photo of the car accident victim. That was a very graphic photo, so we didn't put it on screen, but kind of explaining how John O'Keefe's wounds were different from the exemplar of a sideswipe, sort of. But that's kind of all. I'm gonna let you guys go because this is getting long enough. I hope you've had a great day. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but be sassy, because your boys will come home and be loud. Bye, you guys.